This guy, Gad Saad, on Twitter, he's a professor, evolutionary behavioral scientist, and he keeps lying about Islam. He keeps singing the same songs and chanting the same chants of Zionists and Islamophobes against Islam. Well, what do you expect from someone who looks up to Douglas Murray, a racist and Islamophobe who spreads lies about Islam? Oh, by the way, I recommend that you guys watch The Problem with Douglas Murray from DC Dawa. I'll leave it in the comment. Now let's go to one of his recent tweets where he's talking about Muslims without mentioning them, but it's very clear because this has been repeatedly spread by Islamophobes and Zionists, such as, there are so many others. I will not mention them now. Anyway, he writes, when in the minority, endlessly cry for your rights. When in the majority, eradicate all minority rights, if not all minorities, period. A strategy that has worked beautifully for many centuries. The West's suicidal empathy is fatal. So here he's talking about Muslims, and he's saying that when Muslims are in minority, they cry for their rights. And when they are in majority, they eradicate all minority rights, and they also eradicate minorities. So here he's demonizing Muslims, and he's distorting the image of Islam and Muslims by claiming that Muslims eradicate minority rights and eradicate minorities. Well, these people will never stop lying, unfortunately. So here I responded with this comment. There are two ways to debunk your false claims. One, Muslim scriptures and teachings that prohibit harming civilians of any faith and command justice and kindness toward them. Two, historians confirming the fact of Islamic tolerance, like Thomas Arnold, Will Durant, Gustave Le Bon. And here, this is a link, a short video, Dr. Glenn Redworth from the University of Manchester saying that Islam is more tolerant than Christianity. You can watch it for yourselves later on. Now here, because I cannot write a long comment, I'm not subscribed and I'm not paying money to Elon Musk, I mentioned these, I pasted these links from my YouTube channel. Most of them are from one playlist, which is The Great Muslim Civilization. I already mentioned Dr. Glenn, and here we have Sir Thomas Arnold, Muslims Practice Tolerance Towards Non-Muslims. All, of course, are Western and non-Muslim historians. Also, there's one short video that I made in response to similar claims educating Islamophobes on non-Muslim citizens under Muslim rule. Also here, another quote by a Western historian, Christians prayed to God to help the Muslims liberate them from the Byzantines. Also here, Western historians, Muslims were welcomed as liberators. Also, Muslims were more tolerant than the Byzantines. Muslims liberated Christian minorities from the Byzantines, and the Christian leader preferred Muslims over Byzantines. And so on and so forth. There's a lot of other quotes by non-biased, non-Muslim Western historians who testified for the Islamic tolerance. Now, for point number one, I think I owe you a further explanation, and I have to go to the Quran to show you, Quran and Sunnah, to show you the scripts and the texts that teach us not to harm civilians and to be kind and just to them. So let's go to the Quran first. In Surah number 2, Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 190, fight in the way of Allah those who fight against you, but do not transgress. Indeed, Allah does not like transgressors. So fighting is only against enemy combatants. We're not supposed to harm civilians. So how can we relate to non-Muslim civilians? How are we supposed to treat them? Surah number 60, Surah Al-Mumtahana, verse number 8. This verse talks about peaceful non-Muslims. Allah does not forbid you from those who do not fight you because of religion and do not expel you from your homes from being righteous toward them and acting justly toward them. Indeed, Allah loves those who act justly. In the Sunnah, the prophetic tradition, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Beware, whoever is cruel and hard on a non-Muslim minority, or curtails their rights, or burdens them with more than they can bear, or takes anything from them against their free will, I, Prophet Muhammad, will complain against the person on the Day of Judgment." Now, we have just refuted these false claims by that so-called professor, Gad Saad, and his likes. And of course, we need to spread the truth and we need to debunk their lies and false claims about Islam, because this is the truth. It's not only from our scriptures, but also the history that was written even by non-Muslims, by non-biased Western historians, testify for the tolerance of Muslims. So we have to put an end to these lies. Those people are Islamophobes. They want people to hate Islam. They want to spread fear and hate about Islam. And we all know why is this happening, right? This is mostly the truth about why people spread hatred about Islam and how Islamophobes work and how they function. They are funded by you-know-who. And of course, no matter what they do, they will fail. I would like to conclude with this verse from Surah Al-Anfal, Surah number 8, verse number 36. Go to the translation. "Indeed, those who disbelieve spend their wealth to avert people from the way of Allah, to avert people from Islam. So they will spend it, then it will be for them a source of regret. Then they will be overcome, and those who have disbelieved unto hell, they will be gathered."